far-right, racist, extremist ideologues, and that's exactly who Diagolon is.
And the Diagolon thing, when I talk about extremists, it's the Diagolon flag that we're pointing to.
The Leader of the Opposition refuses to say a simple thing, that he condemns Diagolon because they are a white nationalist, violent organization.
When will we put an end to this wacko policy by this wacko Prime Minister?
No. I order you to withdraw from the House and from any participation.
With the writing well and truly on the wall for Justin Trudeau and his gang of MPs, the Liberals, as a last gasp attempt to try to save themselves, deployed the boogeyman of Diagolon once again with the help of the legacy media to try to scare Canadians into thinking that somehow Pierre Poilievre, deep down, is actually a racist and far-right politician. I mean, I wonder why those attacks just don't seem to be sticking.
Wahi Guru Chika Khalsa, Wahi Guru Chiki Fateh.
For those of you who have been following Canadian politics closely over the past few years, this will not be a new tactic to you. You've seen this one before. The legacy media seem to be, dare I say it, obsessed with this fictional meme group named Diagolon. They are begging you to care about this group as much as they do. They want you to be scared of this group. Now, they won't actually tell you why you should be scared of this group. They just assume that if it comes from the mouth of a CBC journalist or a Liberal politician, you will just take it as gospel. In fact, to nobody's surprise, none of these attacks have actually worked against Pierre Poilievre. People just don't actually care about a fictional meme group. I can't believe it, I know. What people actually care about is having money in their pockets to feed their families, having enough money to one day buy a home, and to not be swarmed by waves of mass immigration. Accordingly, since the Liberals have deployed the boogeyman of Diagolon, Pierre Poilievre's performance in the polls has actually increased. Before we get into the show, drop a like in the video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, stick around for the ratio of the week, and the comment question for the episode is this: what will be the next Liberal attack against Pierre Poilievre? Let me know your answer in the comments below, and let's get into it. All of this started just 7 or 8 days ago when Pierre Poilievre was filmed walking out of an RV at a carbon tax protest, and in the video, you can see a tiny, tiny little Diagolon flag on the door. Immediately, because of this, the Liberals and the legacy media assumed that Pierre Poilievre was somehow a quiet supporter of a dangerous far-right Diagolon group. That one picture has triggered days of debate in the House of Commons, trying to make the argument that somehow Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party are cozy with dangerous racists. It has triggered days of commentary on CBC News and op-eds in the Toronto Star. Now, here is a sample of what Liberal MPs have been saying about Pierre Poilievre in the House of Commons over this picture.
The Leader of the Opposition refuses to say a simple thing, that he condemns Diagolon because they are a white nationalist, violent organization, that he rejects the endorsement of Alex Jones, an extremist conspiracy theorist who denied the deaths of 20 kids at Sandy Hook. These are things that concern Canadians that he should also answer for.
For some really hard-hitting and in-depth political analysis, take a look at what our best friends over at the CBC had to say about Pierre Poilievre's obvious connections with Diagolon, including our friends Althea Raj, Rosemary Barton, and the anti-social yob guy Andrew Coyne.
The voters should not be put in the position of having to wonder
Yes.
Whether the next Prime Minister of Canada is a mainstream, normal politician or somebody who hangs out with extremists.
And the Diagolon thing, when I talk about extremists, it's the Diagolon flag that we're pointing to. Whether he saw it or knew it was there is, I think, a different question.
And you should be very careful about where you go and what symbols might be there and who you're associating with if you don't know who these people are.
Now, the best response to this CBC panel discussion over Diagolon with our best friends here came from John Kay, who wrote this: "The number of people on this panel exceeds the membership of Diagolon." Right, because the membership of Diagolon is about 0, as it's a fake group. Speaking of Althea Raj and the Toronto Star, she has had quite the week herself. Stick around for the ratio of the week to see what happens there. But I also want to bring your attention to this op-ed she wrote in the Toronto Star about the dangerous Diagolon picture. She was so scared and so hurt. I can only imagine what she's been going through, how she's been coping with this awful picture of Pierre Poilievre and that tiny little Diagolon flag. Pierre Poilievre is courting support from groups that spew hate. Is this really the alternative to Justin Trudeau we want? There is no doubt that many Canadians are tired of the Liberal government, but surely we can do better than what the Conservative leader is offering, Althea Raj writes. Oh, but don't worry, it doesn't stop there with the Toronto Star. Take a look at this one they also published after Althea Raj's far-left screed. Poilievre flirts with far-right while media looks away. Probing Poilievre's winking flirtation with fringe-right groups could provide us with crucial information that Conservative strategists are working hard to keep under wraps. And Pierre Poilievre already denounced Diagolon as a group of dirtbags and losers after Jeremy Mackenzie and his friends on a podcast made jokes about sexually assaulting Pierre Poilievre's wife. I guess that's not enough for Justin Trudeau and the Liberal media. If the argument being made here is that because Pierre Poilievre was spotted walking past a flag of Diagolon that he is now cozying up to the far right, wouldn't this picture of Justin Trudeau taking a selfie with someone wearing the Diagolon flag on her lapel prove that Justin Trudeau is cozying up to the far right? Expecting equal treatment in the legacy media is foolish, of course, but I think it's worth pointing out that since the evidence here seems to be exactly the same on both sides, maybe someone should make the case that Justin Trudeau is actually cozying up to the far right. See, nobody will actually do that, though, because it is a stupid argument to make. The only reason they're trying it on with Pierre Poilievre is, of course, one, because he's a conservative, and two, because he's beating Justin Trudeau and the Liberals so badly that the Liberals are looking at record defeats here. In fact, take a look at the latest reporting that was just released since the Liberals have deployed their boogeyman of Diagolon. It's not working. It's getting worse for the Liberals and better for Pierre Poilievre. Now, one of the most ridiculous attacks against Pierre Poilievre over this Diagolon story came from Liberal MP Adam Van Koeverden, who said that Diagolon is a registered terrorist organization, which is a complete lie, which is not true in Canada. But they don't really care about that, you see. If the legacy media is going to do this work for them, they can lie with impunity and nothing is going to happen. Listen to this.
I don't think it's too much to ask a leader of an official party in Canada to denounce far-right extremism and a group who has been identified by Canadian security and intelligence as a terrorism organization.
Not only is the fictitious meme group Diagolon not a registered terrorist organization, like Adam Van Koeverden just told us, Diagolon, according to investigative reporting by Karim Assad in HateGate, a link to that you can find in the description of this video, Diagolon, according to the standards of the Canadian Security and Intelligence Services, does not even meet the definition of a group. Regardless of that, Justin Trudeau and his government willingly and knowingly used open source intelligence gathered by the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, a group which they funded, which said that Diagolon was present at the Freedom Convoy and was a dangerous group that potentially held weapons, to justify invoking the Emergencies Act. They used fake intelligence about a fake meme group to justify invoking the Emergencies Act and strip away your freedoms. Now, the legacy media, who now have no problem using this fake group to attack Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre over, at the time had no interest in investigating the federal government over their handling of fake intelligence about this group to justify invoking the Emergencies Act. Shockingly, even after a federal judge found the invocation of the Emergencies Act to be unconstitutional. Still, the legacy media had no interest, and seems to have no interest, in getting to the bottom of the intelligence used to justify the Emergencies Act. I'm talking about this, of course, because this fake meme group, which is really a fan club for a Canadian veteran and podcaster, Jeremy Mackenzie, was at the center of the Emergencies Act, and they are now at the center of this latest attack. In fact, this Diagolon story got so completely out of control that Jeremy Mackenzie took time out of battling yet another trumped-up political trial against him, made a statement about what's been going on. There is no connection between Pierre Poilievre or anyone in the Conservative Party and this group. But you have to check this out. The Liberal Party took a clip of a podcast that Jeremy Mackenzie and his friends were on and have essentially used it as a campaign ad against Pierre Poilievre. So here you have Ferryman and Derek Rance and Jeremy McKenzie on the Plaid Army podcast talking about how Pierre Poilievre is a weasel and how you can essentially try to manipulate him into appealing to the base, something that he really ought to be doing, actually. And this was what the Liberals really thought was going to be able to sway people's opinions on this? A clip of conservative Canadians saying that Pierre Poilievre cannot afford to abandon his base on a podcast is the best the Liberals have. In fact, they're even attacking Pierre Poilievre, and somehow Canadians are supposed to think that there's a grand conspiracy here, that Poilievre and Diagolon are working together. Look, the reality here is that the legacy media and the Liberals think that we are stupid. Besides these attacks being completely disingenuous and built on lies, these attacks are an insult to you. They think that Canadians are stupid. By routinely making these attacks and false statements, all they're doing is actually building this group up more. They're making this group appear bigger than they are, appear more important than they are. In my opinion, and you should tell me if you think I'm wrong here, they desperately want Diagolon to be a more important group so they can continue to use it to beat conservatives into submission with. They want Diagolon to be like the Proud Boys in the United States, so they can use it to control conservatives and control conservative voices. Now, if that really is the objective of the legacy media and the Liberal government, what does that say about them other than they care more about their own political success? They care more about achieving electoral victory than they do about the country in which they live. All right, time for the ratio of the week. We told you Althea Raj had quite a bad week herself, and we're going to finish it off for her by giving her the ratio of the week prize. On Tuesday, the Speaker of the House of Commons, Greg Fergus, kicked Pierre Poilievre out of Parliament after he described the Prime Minister as being wacko. The legacy media had a field day over these House of Commons theatrics. Althea Raj, feeling as though she was witnessing something truly historic, had to write about it on social media. "We will remember this day in the history books," she writes. Oh yeah, of course. 30 years from now, 40 years from now, students will be learning about the day when Pierre Poilievre said wacko in the House of Commons and the Speaker asked him to leave question period. What a big moment. 701 likes to 1.4 thousand replies here for Althea Raj. It seems as though maybe Canadians aren't seeing the same historical importance over this situation as Althea Raj does. What happened in the House today was literally worse than 9/11, World War I, World War II, and Pearl Harbor combined. Only in Canada, a journalist this blatantly biased would have a job in a major publication. And I just loved this comment here. I guess the check cleared then. It does look that way, doesn't it? Althea Raj really did earn her government money this week for all of her hard work. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for us this week on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Harrison Faulkner, and this is Ratio.